Finding yourself lost in finding ways to be found, getting into your mind, lost in a time in your life where you wanted to feel the praise and hear the music and hear the sound? I feel like we have that point in our life.
That's an interesting question. So, no.
Really?
Yes. As a matter of fact, I don't think it was an option for me to be a singer, like an actual professional singer songwriter, because I didn't think I had the aptitude and the patience for it. I just thought it was too much drama. You have to be really great with fashion and you have to be out
Right.
there in the public eye. And growing up, it just didn't really seem like my sin. I always loved music. I had my first solo singer in church when I was 6. Um, and I recall even ad libbing and putting putting twists on songs, my own twists on songs since I was like 4 years old. And I just thought my music will just remain in church. However,
It changed.
yes, during the pandemic, it all changed. And remember how everyone was going back to doing their hobbies and things that they had sort of neglected to do because we all had so much time on our hands. Well, for
Right.
me, it was my music, it was songwriting. I did a couple of challenges online with my sister, with some friends, and then all of a sudden, I remember waking up in the middle of the night and I went to the loo just to use the loo and go back to bed. And in the space of 5 minutes, I received or I had the idea for a song and had written a whole song in like 5 minutes. Verse, chorus, bridge. I was like, wait, this is amazing. This sounds amazing. And I was like,
Hostess.
this is so good. And then I was like, oh, I went back to bed and I was like, wait, I haven't recorded it. I need to go back. Well, I'm gonna forget it. So I got out of the bed
See, this is
and
what happens when like you lie. That's like the famous thing where you put on your resume, you do all of these things, like, yeah, I can do that, sure. And then you actually have to do it, and you're like,
yeah, yeah.
um,
And I remember getting back out of bed and whisper singing this song into my phone. And then thinking to myself, oh my goodness, this is great. People have to hear this. And then realizing that actually no one knew that I was writing music and no one knew. And then that's when I realized I think some of these songs are actually just not meant for us, but meant for other people to hear them. So that's how the journey started.
oh, I see. Okay.
However,
There's
I
always
had
a
to
but. Every time there's always a but that's in there. It's like,
There is a definite but in here because I'm like a pediatrician with kids,
mm-hmm.
married, and I know nothing about releasing music or even songwriting because this song sounded great to myself, but we both know that sometimes something that sounds great to you might sound rubbish to other people.
Right. Exactly.
So I had to go back to the drawing board. I had to get a songwriting coach, and then I had to get a music business coach because, like, I have no idea. I mean, I can go to the studio and record this song, but I have no idea what to do when the song comes out. How do people do this? So it was a lot of learning and growth for me. But it's not
Again with the bots, honey. Again with the bots, honey.
it's not come without a lot of joy. Like I've really enjoyed the process. I've really enjoyed it. There's been a lot of rewards when I hear people using my songs. So a lot of my songs are Christian songs. Some of them don't, some of them are like mainstream songs, but a lot of them are what people can listen to in church or listen to during prayer times, things like that, or during quiet times of reflection. So it's just great when I hear people saying, "Oh, I was listening to the song earlier today when I was praying," or I. The one that I loved was your song has been on repeat for me because she was going through a tough time, and one of my songs is around perseverance and getting through failure and things like that, and that song was on replay for her. So when I hear stories like that, it just, I feel like this is it. This is why I'm doing it. You know.
It's a different realm because when you're dealing with, I'm not religious, but I was raised Orthodox Jewish in an Orthodox Jewish home. And the funny thing you realize is like music plays a very important part, especially when you're talking about Jesus and the Virgin Mary and God and the angels. And, it allows people to connect to their faith. I guess more fluidly would be the word I would use.
Yeah, the thing about music is that it can be very emotive too, as well, isn't it? It has this power to move you without being physically moved. Anything that can move you emotionally is powerful. And then when you combine that with religion, it gets really. Or when you combine that, something I also do is write music for businesses,
Oh,
maybe
okay.
maybe coaches that have events, or coaches that advertise their coaching online. I'm like, can you imagine the power of combining what you do with music? Because you're like, I can change your life, and I can help you in whatever way. But if you combine that with music, you connect to them emotionally, and before you know it, they'll be saying, where can I sign up? Where is here's my card. I want to work with you.
Yeah, you bring up a really great point because if you think about, like, I'm a car person, so when
Mm,
you think about famous, I have a Ford Mustang, and you think about Mustangs, Camaros and Corvettes, and whenever you watch these commercials, they always have, like, rock and roll or like Barracuda or something.
yes.
Why? Well, the reason is because they're trying to get
Yes.
emotions moving, get you feeling like,
Yes.
you're gonna go fast, you're gonna have a good time.
Absolutely.
So
Yeah.
yeah.
It's not just the fact that it can help you sell, but it's also the fact that it can get you in motion as well. Because just the way the music can help people take that last step of, oh, I want this. I can see the possibilities. I'm crying, tears spinning, falling down my face. I want this. But in that same way, it can also help them take the steps they need to, you know, because obviously if you've taken that step and you've put down a lot of money for a program or for a coaching program, you better be ready to also take steps, to actually take action to improve your life and act on what you're being taught by your coach. So there's just a lot of ways that music can be used. And I'm an advocate to say, guys, there's so much you can do with music,
Yeah, there
Let's
is.
do it, let's use it.
It all starts where you want to begin more than anything because one thing, for example, like here in the US, when you go to some of these churches in the South
Hmm.
and you go there for a Sunday service, and they have this whole choir that's there, and they have this organ that's playing, and you come in there and you're expecting a general service,
Hmm.
and you get this performance for like an hour and a half of music and psalms and prayers and scriptures from the Bible, but it's a performance. I feel it's maybe the way that the setting is made is how you're bringing people in, because it's all about bringing that congregation in onto that service on Sundays.
So you've been to services like that, and you've not connected with with what happens.
I'm not a religious person. I'm an observer. So I'm the type of person that I like to observe other things, other faiths, other beliefs, other practices, but I don't actually.
Yeah, I generally, the places that I do know that there are churches where there is an element of performance. But the reason why I'm a Christian, anyways, is because I make sure I go to places where I connect with what they are doing. If I went to a place where I did
What is
not,
something that you connect with? Like, what's the first thing, if you know, like the church that you're in? What is like the first thing that comes to mind that you connect with?
it will have to be great music. However, not distracting music. So, for example, if I went to a place where someone just wanted to show off the range and the fact that they could do runs and riffs, I find that really distracting. I need to feel like whoever is up there leading the service really wants to connect with the people coming. They know that we have lives, and some people have struggles, and some people actually have things that they're going through.
Right.
And whoever is leading has to have that in mind and speak to it, speak to it, maybe pray about it. That sort of thing makes me know, okay, this person genuinely cares about the members. Those are the things I connect with.
It's really powerful. I mean, because again, it all ties into again with congregation.
Yeah.
You know, it's about what everybody's looking for. It's what everybody's looking to connect with.
I would say if you are going to a church where you are not feeling loved, and sometimes love can be hard, because my kids, if they were doing something that I thought, this is not good for you, I'm not gonna want to just make you happy and not tell you that's awful. You need to stop that straight away. I'm gonna do that, and sometimes that's hard. I remember sitting with my kid recently. He had been incredibly rude to his nanny, and we were having this back and forth about his behavior, and we had told him, "Do you know what, you're not getting your iPad, your Xbox, your Nintendo Switch. You're
Oh
not getting all
boy,
of that all
you
weekend."
just wished World War VI on the whole family.
Well, he's only 5.
Okay, maybe World War IV. I'm stretching it a little too far.
So so the weekend was finally here, and I think it had dawned on him the kind of weekend he was about to have,
Oh
with no
boy.
access whatsoever to his usual things that he loves. And he came to me sad and saying, "Mommy, can I not have my Xbox, please?" When you just want to melt and say, "Of course you can. I just want to make you happy." And I took my little boy and I hugged him real close. And I said, "Sweetheart, I wish I could give it to you. I really do. But you need to learn that some behavior is not acceptable." And there is the little
There
boy
we
that we're
go.
speaking
Speaking
about.
of,
All right, Nathan, I'm in a meeting. Okay. Can you ask your
you know,
brother or your
I
auntie to do this?
I love. By the way, I love these moments like that because we're talking about the person they actually pop in, and it's just beautiful. When
Can
does that
you
ever happen?
can you close my door behind you?
He's so
Thank you.
cute.
So I remember saying, "I really need to give. I wish I could just give you a great weekend. I mean, I'm your mom. I love you. I want to see you happy. However, you need to realize that some things are not acceptable, and the only way you can actually realize is by going through the pain of no games all weekend." And I remember he was crying, and I hugged him and hugged him. But that's life. Sometimes love can also be tough. I feel like if I go to a place of worship or church, and I wasn't seeing people there that could call me to call me to order if I was going crazy, then I don't think that's the place for me. I need to go to places where I think people have my back, people are looking out for me, even if it's to say, "Girl, you need to watch yourself. What's going on with you?" You know, I think that's a big part of one
People
of the reasons why I go to church as well.
people don't understand it because when you're a religious person, generally when you're a part of a church, you're also part of a congregation. And usually that type of congregation is all sorts of type of people. You know, large families, small families, older people, younger, sometimes people that are single, all that are coming to this place for worship.
Oh,
And,
well,
you know,
just
kind
one
of,
second. One second.
sure.
Nathan, can you go ask your brother to put the water in here for you? You don't need to take it out of the one completely. Close the door. Close the door. And don't come back to this room unless the house is on fire.
Well, hey, at least we got, you know, an additional guest for the podcast for a brief moment. I love it. But that's what I come back to is, you know, why would you have that attitude of why would these people want to have your back? It's because when you're a part of a church, when you're part of a mosque, when you're part of a shul or a synagogue, that's the type of people that are coming here. It's your
Mm,
neighbors, it's people that are around you. And what you were talking to earlier about music, that's the type of setting and tone that you're making
mhm,
because this is the people you're resonating with and you're
mhm.
connecting with. Um,
Absolutely. Absolutely. There's such a big sense of community, like real community. Because I tell people, guys, if you're going through a tough time and you don't think anyone in your church is going to bring free meals or come check on you, then you're not in the right place.
yeah.
I actually left a church because of that. Because at some point I felt so disconnected. I didn't think anyone there would actually show up if even if they heard my house burnt down. I was like, I think it's time for me to move. So people need to know that, you need to feel connected. We're not meant to exist alone. We need relationships, like true relationships with people around us.
Yeah. And it's funny because you mentioned this earlier too. I I've been non-religious since about 2017, and there are groups of people that have left the Orthodox community and other communities, and they have a very negative outlook on religion and how it's foul, it's disgusting. Look, I have my problems, but the thing is, you have been able to create something like you said, like you didn't even think this was going to be your career path. You were able to take something from it and make something that works for you. It's like your relationship with God, your relationship you have with your kids, and that connection is with you. It's not
Mm.
with anybody else. You know?
Yeah, that's the thing with not being put in a box, because if I was gonna go the traditional route of what are people gonna say about me, or what's
Right.
you know I currently I still work as a pediatrician 4 days a week, which sometimes feels like it's full time. And then I still have my own podcast. I still have coaching clients. I help artists to not just step up. Do you know what? Let me talk a little bit about what I do actually, because
Yeah, I'm actually curious now. Yeah.
I'm gonna speak to it. There are a lot of us that struggle with things like imposter syndrome, self doubt, self confidence. It is amazing the amount of people that don't think they deserve success. And it just breaks my heart to see that. So
Imposter syndrome.
yeah, I work with artists to step out boldly and confident into their gifts, to let them know actually this is more than just a talent. You can create change, like you can make significant impact in people's lives. So do it boldly. When you release a song, talk about what that song means. Why did you write it? Share from your experience. People want to hear this. You are unique. Your story is unique. The lessons you've learned from your life are unique. So speak out boldly about it. And then I
Yeah,
also
that's
help them.
important.
Yes, I also help them monetize their music, because obviously there is the outlook of a starving musician. I'm like, nope, no, not anymore. I see lots of musicians that are not starving. You just need to be organized. So I teach them, girl, what skill do you have that you can monetize? What experience do you have that you can monetize? There's so many ways that you can bring in income. So I help them set up their business so they continually have the funds they need to keep releasing the music that they write, you know. So that's what I do. But I do this on the side as well. You know, so I'm a
It's a
singer
lot.
songwriter, I am a coach, I'm a podcaster, and I'm still a doctor. If I wanted to live the conventional life of, oh my goodness, you know, I would be stuck. I wouldn't even try. I wouldn't do any of the things I'm doing. And people need to realize that you write your own story. You
Yeah.
write your own story. You can do whatever you want to do.
You bring up an excellent point because like I'm out here in South Florida and there are a lot of really talented artists and bands that they have formed because they have their own voice. You know, they don't need a record label. They're underground and they're able to get around from venues to spots and be able to showcase their music and performances and talk about their music. I've had members like that on this podcast, and it's important also, like you said, to also be able to monetize, you know, to be
Yeah.
able to understand like you want to do this, great. So how are you going to make this with also being able to pay your rent, paying your bills, and keeping
Yeah,
that afloat at the same time?
absolutely.
So it's a hard task. It's a
It
very hard
is.
task.
It is, but if I can do it, you can do it. People just need to be open to the idea of the different things that you can do. You need to be bold, step out and do it. I'm actually giving a talk in a couple of days around the gift of failure. And one of the things that's making me talk about it is the fear that people have that, oh, I'm going to do something and it's going to flop, so I'm not going to even do it at all, you know. Oh, there's no way I'm doing that, you know. I'm too busy, I already have too many things going on, even though you know you really want to do it. Well, actually, if you realized that sometimes you needed to fail to then succeed, then the fear of failure wouldn't stop you anymore. Like, think of people like Thomas Edison that failed gosh, how many
For
times?
over 400 times, yeah.
Yes. But can you imagine if he lived in today's time, what Twitter and and Facebook and social media will say about him? They'll call him crazy. I don't know why he's still going on and on about this, trying
There
to,
wouldn't even
you
be
know,
any Facebook and Twitter or Instagram. I mean, because there would be no electricity.
exactly. However, he succeeded.
He did.
And now we all know him because he succeeded. He just need that one success. So, you know, instead of saying, oh, this is too hard, and limiting, maybe playing the small gigs or even playing for exposure. Because people keep saying, I'm going to play for exposure, so eventually I'll be able to play paying gigs. No, you can survive on that. You can feed your family, you can pay your bills on that, you know. You need to think about ways, actual ways to monetize your music in a way that's sustainable.
Right.
And there's going to be fear initially of who am I? There's gonna be
Well,
fear.
there's also the realization that at the beginning, you're not going to really see a lot. I mean,
Exactly. Yes.
it takes a while until you're able to build a decent revenue. But the thing is having the right building blocks and foundation
Yes.
is vital.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yes. I had this conversation recently online of someone saying, "Oh, they don't know how he's a producer or he's trying to be a producer." He's like, he doesn't know how all of these producers are making it online, you know, posting about the songs they've produced. He's struggling. He's even offering to produce for people for free, and no one is taking him up on his offer. I'm like, okay, we need to have a look at what your building blocks are, you know, or talk to the people who are producing and find out what they're doing. But most importantly, I think he was hoping for maybe a quick fix, because the people he's talking about, they've had years and years. They probably passed through a season that he's in now, a season where they were like, guys, can you support me by letting me produce free for free, you know. They passed through that phase before they got to where they are. The way I look at it, if you're running a business, the first couple of years, you're going to be running at a loss. You're going to be doing a lot of investing and not seeing any returns before you then begin to see some income coming in. And then before you are able to actually start making back all of the investments you put in your business. So yes, it can take years. when you step into that, you start knowing that this is what's going to happen. Yeah.
And it's kind of strange because we live in a world where things move in a matter of second. Our attention spans are next to nothing. And see, separating being a superstar and a success, I've talked about this before. You want to be Post Malone or Miley Cyrus or Lady Gaga? Go right ahead. Your chances of getting there is zero. Very low. Very few people ever make it up there. The chances
Mm,
of you being successful are quite high. Yes, there's a lot of fish in the sea, but you have to be able to swim to get all the way to the top so you can clearly see the picture for what it is. And realistically, you're right. It's not going to happen overnight. You can't just post
no,
it and tomorrow
no, no,
you're
it's not going to happen overnight. And just to bring up a really great point as well is that if you are wanting to be the next Lady Gaga, you're probably already failing before you start because
there
you are
is one
not
already.
exactly, you are you. So you just need to start your own journey to becoming the best, most prosperous. I think
Yeah.
that's a word.
Yes.
The most impactful business owner, an artist that you can be. You just have to think about growing what you have. Growing, honestly, like I had a podcast recording recently with a guest, and he was talking about ways that he helps people think about having a competitive edge. And it's about, what do you have that's different? What do you have about you that's different? So for me, the fact that I'm a pediatrician, I'm definitely going to use that because a lot of my songs are inspired by my work, by maybe something I saw at work, a patient story. I've written songs and songs about the experiences I had at work. Plus, I'm also working on a project where I'm going to combine my music with mental health. There is currently like a mental health epidemic. So I'm going to create some sort of resource for teenagers and their parents, but also write some music around it. What can you do with what you have? What makes you different? What can you do to work on it? To blow it
Right.
up, you know?
Yeah, it's an excellent perspective. I mean, if you want to talk personally for myself, I would have to say I work in kitchens. Like I'm also a podcaster. I also work in a call center,
Mm,
and I'm also an artist. Like there are different branches to my life and different places that I stem. What makes me different is that I don't like to stay in one box. I like to see multiple boxes. Maybe it's because I'm dyslexic. Maybe it's because I have ADHD. I don't know. Does it really matter? I don't think so.
no, it doesn't. It doesn't. No. I'm like, people are like, what? How do you do all that you do? And I keep adding stuff, but it's that creative side of me, right? Is that
Right.
creativity? I want to do this, and how can I do this, and how can I do this, and but it's all good. People that are really successful, they didn't just do one thing. Many of them have multiple things that they're doing. They write books, they're speakers, and they're this, and they're coaches, and they have. So why do you have to limit yourself? you know, I just think, for example, call center. I don't know what kind of call center it is, but you probably hear
CPAP
stories of.
supplies.
Sorry.
CPAP supplies.
Oh, CPAP. CPAP. I
Yes.
know that because I'm a doctor. Yeah. However, you
Super
might
fun.
you might hear like an interesting story from from
Oh,
one of your clients.
I've heard plenty of stories.
That could be like, ooh, that's a song right there. That's a great song right there. So just use every arsenal that you have. Use every tool, every tool in your toolkit,
Right.
and make something beautiful with what you are, with your business. You're not just one thing. You're not just an artist. You are a musicpreneur, which is the name of my podcast, the Fulfill Musicpreneur. You are a musicpreneur. You're multifaceted. You are many things. Don't limit yourself.
Yeah, people also forget that even people of the past, people of success of the past were they had multiple skills. One example I can give is like Michael Jackson. Most people don't know this. Do you know that he did sound effects and
Mm,
special effects, and he also developed and made choreography. So, besides being a singer, he was a choreographer, an editor, a designer. I mean, the list just goes on. So,
yeah.
he was a man of many things,
Many talents, yeah.
and
And
it's like
can you imagine monetizing all of that? Like you can
it's a lot
monetize
of
that
money.
over and over again and use the funds for your music, you know?
Yeah, and basically put the revenue back.
Yeah.
Wow, yeah, it's crazy.
Hmm.
Mind me asking, like, how long have you been helping out artists and been doing this?
Just over a year. I think I started my first event must have been around June last year.
Oh, wow. So pretty
Yeah,
recent.
very recent. The change into music, that pivot that I had was in the pandemic. So my first single came out in 2021. And then my first album came out in 2022.
It
Currently working on my second, but it's all pretty new.
isn't it funny on how like most of our lives changed after 2020?
Yes.
Because my life was pretty mundane back in 2019. I mean, I was doing kind of very similar to what I was doing now, but I wasn't doing podcasting or
Mm.
any of this. And
Yeah.
here we
It's
are now, 4 years later almost.
That's a really interesting point. That's something that brought such heartache and such pain to the whole world also brought such positive change as well. Because for
It,
many of us that have started these
awareness.
new
Yeah.
things, we found it really helpful. Some people have been able to really just cut back on the amount of things they did. Like for me, there were some things I stopped during the lockdown, and I never went back to them. I was like, I'm not doing this anymore. It's actually possible to not do that, and I'm not going back. So even though there was such heartache, which is something I tell people, use use the things that you go through as fuel, because you might be going through such a hard time, but as an artist you can use that as a spring. You can really use that. Such good could come out of that.
Yeah, and it's kind of strange you mentioned that because there's so much pain that sometimes comes with it. Because when we think about events that are life changing, can we honestly think of a time that was longer than almost over a year? I mean, okay,
Mm,
there was like 9/11 that was in a day.
mm,
And I mean there was the Afghanistan war, but when that took place in the early 2000s, like we kind of forgot pretty much
mm.
until they got out, until like 2021. I think it was 2021 or 2022. I can't remember. But this just came around, and it was like
Yeah.
all year. It's all year, and it was the the thing that I learned most, and I feel like maybe you learned this most. The more is the things that we have the most power is the things that have kept us around for the longest: art,
Mm,
creativity, music, craft.
yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
It's heated.
Absolutely.
What are you thinking about?
I'm thinking about the fact that it not just helped me to cut back on how busy my life was, but also helped me make some other positive changes as well. So obviously, I started this whole venture, but also one of the reasons why I did it was also because the world around me was hurting so much, and I wanted my songs to be able to bring a little bit of hope as well. You
Is
know?
there a song that comes to mind?
Oh yeah. Several songs. Yeah, there's a song that I wrote called "Someday Soon." That one was the one about persevering, and because lots of people lost their jobs, we're wondering what's the point. I don't want to go on. I just they lost hope. There was a song that I wrote called "Growing," and that's how essentially sometimes we go through things and we don't see it, but in the midst of all of that, it's actually helping us grow. And the lyrics of the lyrics of the chorus are, "I'm growing through the pain, I'm growing through the tears, I'm growing in the midst of it all, I'm getting stronger through the strain, I'm healing through the ache, I'm growing in the midst of it all." And that's just one of the songs that was just a reminder that you may not see it. It's just like a plant. Plants may be growing, or the roots may be growing
They can't see the
before it
surface.
actually starts growing on the outside. And sometimes that's life. You think you're going through such a difficult season, but keep going because something is actually happening. Something's happening. You are growing. It's making you stronger. It's healing you. It's bringing about all of this change that will be helpful for you in the future.
Right.
Yeah, so lots of songs, and I've written a couple more that are around mental health, and I'm gonna keep writing.
You
For
should
sure.
keep on writing. I think it's important, and it's kind of, I think it's really powerful, that song, within, like you said, within the mist,
Mm,
because just like, this is crazy, but when a caterpillar turns to a butterfly,
mm,
caterpillar is basically like destroying its body,
mm.
like like liquefying and digesting its insides, and it's like, and through that formation
Wow,
comes a butterfly, and
wow.
this, okay, we don't know the 100% science, but just for the sake of argument, does a caterpillar really understand that it's going to be a butterfly in 3 months?
Probably not.
Probably not.
I'm pretty sure not actually, because none of us knew what was gonna happen.
But that's the point, though, is that through the mist, through the cocoon, forms a new change, a new life.
Yeah.
Where does that go? I don't know, but
Mm,
that's what happens, and I
yeah,
think that is what has had happened for so
yeah,
many people.
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So I think it's always kind of fascinating because you mentioned you're a pediatrician. You also do coaching, and you also a podcaster.
Hmm.
You've been a pediatrician for years. Like, you've been in the medical industry, and this is something you've been doing.
I graduated 2011, so gosh, 11 years, more than 11 years actually.
You went. Where did you go to school? You went to school in the United
In
States.
Dublin. In Dublin. So I actually live in the UK.
Okay.
I moved to Dublin from Nigeria. I'm originally from Nigeria.
Oh,
Moved to
wow.
Dublin in 2004. Went to college there, medical college. Got married there. Had my first kid there. Then moved to the UK in 2018. Yeah. So we live in Derby now, which is about 2 hours from London.
I know where that is. Yeah, I have some friends in. I have a very actually. I have a tattoo of a bee from Manchester on my
Oh,
arm.
cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
So, one thing that is, as far as I've heard, that's a benefit about the UK is it's cheaper to go to medical school. A lot cheaper.
Um,
No, not really. Not true.
so there's something called international fees,
Oh, I see.
where if you are not a citizen of the country, you pay international fees, and it's part of the ways that countries raise their funds. So international fees are always way more expensive than. I paid a lot of money for for my medical college in Dublin. I'm pretty sure people that have come here, I think, I'm sorry, I just don't have the numbers to compare. I don't.
Well, it's
Maybe. Are
It's
you
in,
saying in comparison to the US, it's cheaper here?
well, because the thing is, I remember I was speaking with my friend that I have in Manchester. She was telling me that, one of the biggest problems they're having right now is just a lack of doctors. And, she's a teacher, and she has friends of hers that work in the medical industry. What's strange is, I mean, because from what I've heard from people that are from there, it's not as expensive. But it's very strange. Like over here, we have abundance of doctors in the
Mm,
US, but they're all paid and run by the pharmaceutical industry, most of them. I'm not
mhm.
trying to like put doctors out on the blacklist. That's just how it is here in the US. So
It's yeah.
it's disgusting. So like you can't I have had thankfully one really amazing doctor that I've been going to, but it's just kind of one of those industries where there's a lot of mystery tape that's around it, because when you're in the UK and when you're in the United States, there's different care. But again, you're working with doctors. I mean, you're hired to take care of kids, right?
Mhm.
And give people health in need. Like, why is this such a big issue when you're working in your practice already? No.
Why is what such a big issue?
Why is there a lack of doctors? If the fact that it is more affordable than it is the United States. It just kind of baffles me of
It's
like,
because it's more affordable. You've answered you've given the answer. So essentially, you attract, so people should probably write this down that are listening. You attract what you honor, and you can show honor by paying people, right? And because it's free, well, actually, nothing is ever free. Someone else just pays for it. So, because the healthcare system here is free for citizens, doctors get paid less. And because doctors get paid less, there is less funds to train and to keep people. Because I mean, I started working in Dublin, right, when I graduated as a junior doctor that was working. I was getting paid more than what I get paid here. And I knew that I was going to take a pay cut. But people do that because they know the training is good. However, after you get trained, there are not enough incentives to keep you here if you know that other countries are going to pay you way more and treat you better. So the reason why there is a shortage of doctors here is because it's free. And that's the true fact, It's if people were paying either the insurers or paying small amounts in Dublin.
yeah, but I understand where you're coming from, but look what happened here in the United States. We took that as our system. And
Yeah,
here in the United States, and again, I work with patients that refill their supplies. A lot of patients don't reorder their supplies.
yeah,
And for the simple fact that here in the US, they're like, oh, it's okay. You just pay $50.
yeah.
But wait, then you got your $30 copay.
Hmm,
Then you
hmm.
have to pay this fee
Yeah,
and
yeah,
that fee. Do you want to just alone this year? Okay. I'm 24 years old. Do you know how much I've paid on my insurance?
no.
We're in October right now.
Hmm. How much?
$987 on top of what I've paid every single month, which is about $75 a month for my insurance.
And for me personally, the best care I've received is Dublin because there was a combination of free and paid. So as a student, I paid for, if I needed to see the doctor, I would, first of all, I had the ability to call and get an appointment. Here, you can't even do that. If you're sick, you won't get an appointment. There's a good chance you won't get an appointment because you're gonna call your GP and they're gonna say we're full. Go online and book, and the appointments available online are like 3 weeks down the road. So people, when they need their doctors, don't really have access to them. That's number one. Number two, as a student, I paid half price. As someone that was working, I paid full price. It was like 50, 60 euros. That was all right. And if I needed to see him again, I paid half price because it was a follow up meeting. But you know what? I was happy to pay it because I was paying for the service that I wanted, you know?
Right.
So I get, and then if you got admitted to the hospital, you didn't pay for your surgery. You just paid for your bed and maybe your meals. So it was a small amount you paid, easily affordable, you know? And then the government took care of the rest. And even when it came to drugs, even if you're not a citizen, you are capped. So you only pay just over 100 euros for the month for whatever drugs you need. The rest of it, the government paid for you. So it was a mixed structure. And then 0 to 5 year olds get free care. And that only started just before I left. But honestly, in a place like Dublin, maybe because I was working and I could afford it, I was happy to pay. Here, I'm like looking for the person to pay. There's no one to pay because it's free, but because it's free, there are not enough doctors. So I suffer. A lot of us have to either end up in hospital waiting hours and hours to be seen, or we sort of just don't see a doctor when we need to.
How does that affect your career as a doctor?
Well, two ways. I'm a doctor, so if I go to the hospital, people are like, oh, well, let's try and sort you out quickly. There's a little bit of, because I mean, everyone wants that, they want to have that relationship of, oh no, he's a doctor as well, and they want to know that when they come, when they're sick, they get that extra not really a privilege. What's the word I'm looking for? They get that
Priority.
consideration. Yeah, because I mean, this is what you do. It's you know, but I find it hard. I find it hard that we can't provide the kind of care we need to. But at the same time, I'm also glad that people don't have to pay for healthcare. It's just give and take. There's just give and take. If you want a free healthcare, then you need to be ready to maybe not get the healthcare you want every time. You only get what you need.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's kind of kind of a little bit more of an extreme principle, but if you look at, the drug crisis, if all drugs were legal, there would be a negative effect because there would be people that would not take drugs that now would be.
Mm.
That is a realization. Again, like you said, when you're dealing with healthcare, when it's free, there is a realization that less people are going to want to do the work because it's not as profitable or there's not enough prizes that come
And
with
and
it.
the truth is that we didn't study as doctors just to live a subpar lifestyle. We want to be able to raise our children and send our kids to uni if we want. You know what I mean?
Of
You're gonna
course,
want
yeah.
to take care of your family, and if you think that actually this is ridiculous, I'm not going to be able to build the life that I want, and you know that other countries are going to offer you much more, you're going to go. You're going to
Yeah.
go because we want to help people, but we can also help people in Canada or or Australia. We can help people anywhere, especially those of us who are immigrants. And that's the sad fact is that because the training is good, we come here, we pay a lot because we also pay for our medical care when you're not a citizen here. There's a lot that you do to be able to get that training you want. But at the end of the day, you want to make sure that all of this that I've done, it brings the kind of results that I want. And if you need to leave to get the results that you want, you go.
Yeah, and I think
Um,
that and I think that's so important. You know, how many times you have the opportunity to openly speak about, the work that you're doing because again, when you're dealing especially with you, I mean, you're dealing not only with music, you're dealing with care. I mean,
mm,
you spent a career doing this, to be a medical doctor, to have the right training and practices and licenses. And I can kind of relate to you when it comes to immigrant. My dad was an immigrant to this country.
mm,
So I come from an immigrant family, and your kids are growing up in an immigrant home, giving them the opportunity to build something in the country that you're in. And you sometimes feel like you're very limited. It's like, why giving so much out? What am I getting in
mm.
return for this?
Yeah, absolutely. So if it was just a matter of pivoting, okay, can I do something else? Can I do something else? Well, actually, doctors, we can't just decide we want to do something else because that's going to be leaving all the sweat and the blood and the money we paid to get a medical degree in the first place. So we can't just pivot and say, okay, I'm going to go into this new industry where lots of people are making it. But if you knew that you could use your medical degree to get something that's more beautiful and, a great, better lifestyle for your family, then you're gonna go do it, you know.
I mean,
And
like,
that's sad for the UK, but that is reality.
but look what you were able to do with it. You were able to now like make yourself your own podcast, have your own coaching. I mean, you're able to take skills and talents you have and use them at other things that can help you where being a pediatric doctor is not it's not cutting it.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. However, you still have to grow it. It's a
For
brand new
sure.
business. And a lot of times you need to grow it and invest from the funds that I get from working as a doctor, which is not as much as I would like. you know? So
I feel
there's
you.
that there too.
Listen, this is look, I'm working a 9 to 5. I got a second job for a reason. I mean, sometimes you have to do those things that are uncomfortable because you know where you want to be. You want to
Yeah,
head towards.
absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah.
That's what we're here for. We have a dream. We all have dreams. We have desires that we want, and we are alive because we are looking for ways to achieve these goals, achieve these dreams. And we have to do what we have to do to get them. To see them come to pass. Um, I was gonna say something, and I've totally forgotten what I was gonna say.
Eee. It happens sometimes. I feel like it's a thing in our brains that, it like kind of locks behind a door and it's like, I'm not letting it out. It's staying closed.
And it's just tickling.
It's
It's
just
just tickling.
tickling.
Somewhere in my brain, there's something that needs to come out. But I don't know what it is.
I love stories and I love when I'm able to experience people that not only have had different points in their lives, ups and downs, but general like meaning and goal and like workmanship. I
Mm,
mean, f- hello, I mean, you're a doctor, you're
mm,
raising a family, you're from another country that moved across the ocean to this completely different place. I mean, now you're starting a new business and starting this whole thing for yourself. It's when did people stop and like just sit down and say, "Hey, Evie, you want to talk about what's going on in your life?"
uh,
Yeah!
what's the question again? I thought
Please
you were gonna ask something, but I think you asked something else.
tell me 4 or 5 times over, please.
Ask me the question again.
No, the question I was trying to say is, sorry, what I was saying to you is if somebody comes over to you and they ask you,
Hmm.
what's going on in your life? When do we have the opportunities as humans to just sit down and talk with one another and hear each other and hear our lives, our stories, what we're giving out? We just spend so much time
Mm,
here. We could be here.
mm. That's a really good point.
Yeah.
And for someone like me who is an all-round overachiever, it's probably worse for me. I literally have to schedule my social my social life. It needs to be on the calendar or it's not happening.
Oh my God.
I'm telling you, like,
I forget that it exists. I had somebody ask me, one of the guests, he's like, "Do you have a personal page?" And I'm like, "Yeah, Facebook." And he's like, "Anything else?" I'm like, "No." Like, you should get other personal pages. And I'm like,
where?
I don't really have the time. My schedule is like set to like this and that, it's just, oh my God. Once you
Is he
get,
talking of a website?
I don't have a website. We,
Yeah, no, that the person was asking you for your website, was he?
no, he was asking me about if I had a personal page, like a personal, like social page. I don't have any except my Facebook page. I don't have any personal pages.
Okay. And is your Facebook page not on you, or is it on the podcast?
No, it's just me. It's all
That's
about
a
me.
personal page. That's enough.
Ugh.
That's plenty.
Yeah, I post like maybe once or twice a year.
Maybe now I understand what he means.
But it's I feel it's really cool though. You get to hear like talk to other artists and other people and like you're doing what? Okay, can you explain that to me again? You're offering what for free? Why? Why are you doing this?
That's hilarious. There's always a method to the madness, you know.
Oh my
If
god,
you're
there
offering
is.
something for free, it's because there's something in there that you're hoping to then offer. It's great though. Like the amount of growth that I've had from attending free stuff is ridiculous. However, then I bought what they I bought what they offered after the free stuff because I thought the free stuff was so good. You know, however, it went a long way. Like these things are real strategies, really, really real strategies.
No, it does. It also helps you have that separation,
Mm,
from monetary and goal. Because look, we might as well just label everything with dollar signs,
mm,
or pounds or whatever. Because that's because everything,
mm,
your voice, your guitar, anything and everything has a money sign on it, and
mm.
that's nice. But sometimes, can I first see what you're promising? Can I maybe like get a little bit of and like I will have times where I do free things and they're like, oh, it's only $800. I'm like, it's nice knowing you. I'll talk to you in a few months, I promise. But
I
you,
promise,
you
never.
never. I mean, never. But you know what I mean? Like, it's good that
Mhm.
you first know what you're stepping yourself into,
Yeah,
always.
absolutely. And that's where the free stuff comes on. Actually, I don't think I would work with people a lot if I didn't experience them a little bit, you know, hear them speak, see them coach, you know. That's how I've attended all that I've attended because they were offering free stuff. And I was like, oh, it's free. I can just drive down and spend the day. Like some people have actually offered 3 days, like 9 a.m. till 5 of value, teaching you how to set up a business and how to bring funds in.
For free.
You could literally attend 3 days of that, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, for free. And even if you didn't want to buy their programs that they offered, you've gotten free 3 days
How do they make any money?
because they sell programs.
Oh,
They,
when
they
you're
sell like,
there.
okay, so if you like this and you want more of it, come work for me for like maybe several months, you know, where they maybe coach you once a week, or it could be selling a 5 day. So I went to business school, the first business school ever, because I needed to know how to run my business. And it was that way. I went for a Saturday, Sunday training, and it was called multiple streams of income. And they taught you different options and how you could bring in funds. And they said the people that are doing really well don't just have one stream of income, they have multiple streams. So they talked about podcasting, they talked about speaking, they talked about
It's
coaching,
not
therapy.
feasible. Honestly, it's not feasible anymore to have just one flow of revenue.
Exactly.
It
Exactly.
it doesn't make any. It really doesn't
It
make any
doesn't.
sense.
It really doesn't. So all of that was for free. And then I bought the 5 day business school. So I literally traveled down, stayed in a B&B, and had 5 full days of
Oh, nice.
learning how to run your business. I mean, it costs some thousands of pounds, but this is the thing. So they get their money because then they sell something on the back end of that. How even if you said, look, I can't afford this, you've had 3 days or 2 full days of free training. So
You can
don't knock
use.
it. Don't knock it. Yes, you can
Yeah.
use. Yeah, absolutely. There's a lot of method to the
Let
madness.
me. We haven't talked about this. I mean, where can people find the work that you're doing, like your podcast, your coaching business, things like that? Like, where are they on social media?
So if you go to my website, abioginni.com, which is EBIOGINNI.com, my website is there. You'll see my music. If you click on podcast, you'll see it there. If you click on coaching, you'll see it there. But also, you can just Google the Fulfilled Musicpreneur podcast. It'll come up as well in your wherever you listen to your podcasts. And I have a freebie that I give to people where you get to download some of my best songs and also an e-journal. um I'm gonna send you the link so you can put it in the description and people can
Sure.
just pick that. But
Perfect.
also, if you wanted to work with me or you had some questions, just reply to the email. 'Cause if you sign up for my freebie and you get the ebook and you get my music, just reply to the email and we can set up some time to talk.
Perfect. Well, I love that. And again, I love your story. I love the different avenues, places you've gone, and different things you've added on to your career as an artist. And best part about that is